living should ask himself this question: what am I on earth for? I am not an imam or a pastor, and I'm not trying to sermonize, but I want to believe that the Creator has a reason, a plan, and a purpose for creating each and every one of us. Now, each of us has a unique purpose on earth, which should form part of what I call our life statements. And each time I talk to leaders, I try to make them understand that we have our own uniqueness, our own originality, our own peculiar way of doing things. And the best way for you to be a leader with a purpose is for you to know the purpose while you are here on earth. Instead of trying to copy and paste the leadership styles of some others, you need to try to develop your own leadership style and what works out for you as a person. Now, there's an equation which I have written for purpose, which I said your gifts plus your passion plus your values would give you your purpose on earth. What are some of the gifts that you have as a young man or a young woman? What are some of the things you are passionate for? Something you can do with ease, that you could be called upon to do it at whatever point in time, and you see yourself doing it, whether you're paid or you're not being paid, whether you are appreciated or not appreciated. And lastly, what are some of the things you value? Some of the things that you don't shift grounds for, you value these things, you hold them in high esteem. The moment these three are combined together, it gives you a purpose in life. Now, what you do from the outside, as you try to embark on a journey of discovering your purpose and in a journey of leadership, what you do from the outside must always be in agreement with what is from your inside. You don't have to be saying something, and from the inside, you're not convinced that what you're saying is what is supposed to be done. There should be harmony between what you speak about and what you stand for. Your words, your thoughts, and actions must always be in harmony for you to be able to live a life of purpose. Now, the first law in the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is the law of the lead. The law of the lead, LID, which is displayed. The law of the lead. Now, the law of the lead is saying leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. Your ability to live as a young person determine your level of effectiveness. Now, which means whatever team you're leading, whatever group you're leading, whatever association you're leading cannot grow beyond the level of the lead, because the leader happens to be the cap or the lead on the group, the association, and the team that you're leading. We are in an era whereby a lot of the young men you see around are passionate fans of football clubs. We love watching football a lot. And you will all agree with me that once you see a team consistently losing, the first thing to be done is to fire the coach. The first thing to be done is to fire the coach. So as the leader, you are the lead, you are the coach in your team. You are the cap on the potentials of the members of the group or members of the team you're leading. The lead is either holding back the very best or pushing them out. Now, as a leader, you're either trying to do what? To stop the people from expressing and maximizing the potentials they have, or you are either trying to push them from doing it. There is no way, a saying has it that a servant is no greater than his master. And each time I have the chance to talk about that, I use this simple illustration. Now, enroll yourself in a primary and spend 20 years studying. The highest certificate you could earn after your studies is the primary school living certificate. Primary school offers. It is also the same thing in every group. No member of the group, the level of the leadership of the group. So if you want to change the group, grow the leader. The lower the lead, I said, the greater the blame. The higher the lead, the greater the team. A poor workman, as the saying goes, always blames his tools. So whenever you see your team performing below your own expectation, there's a need for you as a leader to grow yourself. Once you shift grounds, you give way for the contents which happen to be trapped in the bottle or in a tin to grow to the level that you desire. You cannot be a leader that is placed on a scale of 1 to 10, that is placed on the scale of 7, and you'll be saying that you'll be attracting people that have leadership skills that is placed on the scale of 9 or 8. It's not possible. That is why I love the saying that I am not afraid of a group of lions led by a sheep, but I'm afraid of a group of sheep led by a lion, because they would desire to be like a lion. The law of the lead. Leadership ability determines person's level of effectiveness. Now, the second law, which is the law of influence. The law of influence. The law of influence. Now, it is saying leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Each time we're given the chance to talk about leadership, people equate leadership to rank. They tend to think as if once you have a rank, a title, a position, a throne, you are equally a leader. But permit me to say that all these are opportunities and invitation for one to lead. Without influence, nobody could beat his chest and call himself a leader. I said, as humans, we all have a desire to be loved and cared for. As such, no leader can lead without loving the team members. Everybody in whatever team, group, or association, the moment you don't love the team members, you have lost the right to be their leader. A saying has it that you can love people without leading them, but you can't lead people without loving them. And there is these 3 burning questions in the heart of every follower, which every leader should sit down and begin to ask himself to know whether he answers this question before he embarks on a journey of leadership. 1, every team member you have, whether he verbalized that or not, has these 3 burning questions in his heart. 1, do you care for me? As my leader, I want to find out, do you care for me? The second question, can you help me? And the third question, can I trust you? Once these 3 questions are not answered by the leader, the group will not be able to be influenced by such a leader. People desire leaders that would care for them, that could help them, which is competence, that leaders that they can trust, which has to do with their character. Now, if you don't have influence, you can never be able to lead others. Because leadership is influence and nothing more, nothing less. That is why in every group or setting, there are people that may not be having rank, positions, and titles. But the moment they speak, people listen to them because they are leaders. Leadership is not about the throne or the position or the rank you have, but it's all about influence. People listen because they are being influenced by the person in question. Leadership is not a title. It cannot be appointed or assigned. Yes, some of you that have subscribed to this Leadership Academy may be having titles or positions in their various groups or associations, but that does not qualify them to become leaders. Unless you are able to influence the people, you cannot call yourself a leader. True leadership is found in the followership. And people could only follow you once you are able to answer these questions I have highlighted. Once you care for them, once they trust you. Oftentimes, we mistake some things as leadership, which are known as myths about leadership. The management myth. Once you are in the management position, some people most times we tend to think as if the person is a leader. Or maybe perhaps once you are an entrepreneur, once you're given some Naira bills and you turn them, you are somebody that is good in business. People tend to think as if such a person is a leader. And sometimes again, once someone is knowledgeable, the myth is that some people begin to think as if such a person is a leader. I have seen professors that could barely lead themselves, let alone leading others. I have seen people with various kind of certificates that are struggling to lead themselves, let alone to lead others. Another myth is the pioneer myth, where once you start something, once you are a pace setter in a certain field or discipline, people tend to think as if you're a leader. But it's not always so. You could start something and yet you will not be able to lead. The position myth, which is the number one myth that people uphold most of the times. You could be having a management position, an entrepreneur, a knowledgeable person, a pioneer in a certain field, and yet you might not be able to call yourself a leader, because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Now, the next law, due to time, is the law of process, which is saying leadership develops daily, not in a day. Leadership develops daily, not in a day. It is all about continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. Now, it is likened to investing in a stock market. I have never seen somebody that has gone to the stock market to make investment today and he expects to reap the benefit of his investment a day after that. It is something that should be done continuously and consistently for you to be able to enjoy the dividends over time. Business had to be done over to enjoy that. Yes, it's possible in stock investment that you might not be the one at the driving force of the business. But the fact is that the investment you've made is subjected to series of trading for you to be able to enjoy the dividends at the end of the day. The dream of a lifetime. It's a dream that takes a lifetime. It is something that should be done consistently and continuously over time for you to be able to achieve that and get to the position you desire to be. It takes time to grow a leader. The most of the challenges we face in this age is that we happen to be in an age where people are so quick. There are no microwave leaders anywhere. There are no quick fixes to leadership. The best way for you to grow yourself as a leader is to go through a process of continuous development, which will lead you to making what is known as your growth plan as a leader. What are the plans you have in order to grow? I love this nursery rhyme, good, better, best. I shall never rest until my good is better and my better best. It is also the same statement where leadership is concerned, where you are expected continuously to make progress, making bite-sized decisions towards becoming the leader you desire to be. To lead tomorrow, learn today. Champions don't become champions in the ring. They are merely recognized there. It is true. Whenever you see somebody winning championship, winning contests, winning whatever kind of league, you know, the person does not wake up just in a single day, enroll in the championship, and then at the end of the day, the person is declared a winner. He has made bite-sized daily decisions that has propelled him towards becoming the leader that he is being recognized in the ring. The secret of success for a man is to be ready for his time when it comes. Benjamin Disraeli, former Israeli prime minister, is the one that said that. And Abraham Lincoln was quoted saying, if I have 8 minutes to chop a tree, I will spend 6 hours sharpening my axe, which means this process of building yourself continually will take you to the place you want to be in the future. But there's no quick fix to that. There's no microwave leadership. There's no fast lane. You have to go through the process of developing yourself. The law number 4 is the law of navigation. The law of navigation, which is saying anyone can steer the ship, but it takes only a leader to chart the course. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Now, I know that most of us are driving maybe motorcycle or cars. And once we go back to the days we began to learn how to drive, I know that a lot of us, should time permit us and the space and the platform permit us, we would have listened to the inputs from people. It wasn't funny. I remember the day I began to learn a car. It wasn't funny. But over time, I kept on doing it, and now I will be able to drive and take myself from point A to point B. The same thing with those that are steering ship on the sea. I sit down and marvel at how they could get to point A to point B. We don't have roads on the sea. How do they get that? They are navigators. A sea could be bigger than the entire Northeast, which most of us are here. And yet, the people are able to get from point A to point B. Now, what the law of navigation is saying, a leader is likened to a navigator that should know how to take the group, the team, and the association from the point they are to the point he wants to take them to. I liken a navigator to an architect. An architect finishes the building before it commences. He is the one that sits down and imagine what the structure will look like even before the structure commences. A leader is the one who sees more than others sees. That is a good navigator. He sees more than you and I that are members of the group see. Navigating leaders do their homework. They sit down, they don't just go to sleep and begin to think as if I have a position of leadership. I could take the team to wherever I want them to go to. They do their homework. And as leaders, you need to determine which works for you. Now, I spoke about trying to be copycats at the beginning of this session. What is working for Mr. A might not be what is working for Mr. B. It is also the same thing in most of our schools. There are others that could read for some couple of hours and you see them doing exploit in the exam hall. And others must have to read and read and read and read before at the end of the day, they become successful. Know what works for you. Successful leaders employ both faith and facts. Faith is key because if you don't have confidence in yourself as a leader and at the team, you might not be able to take the team to where you are taking them to. So it's key that you use both faith and fact for you to be able to be a good navigator. Now, what are the process of good navigation? Navigators draw on past experiences. What are some of the things I have done in the past that were successful? What have I experienced? The successes, the failures, and what have you that the leader has experienced and the team in time past? Navigate making commitments. What are some of the projects you desire to embark as a group or a team? You need to examine what? The conditions. You don't have what it takes to get to point B. What are some of the challenges you would encounter? Supposing you encounter challenges, how would you come out of such challenges before they make commitments? Sometimes we're so swift in making commitments without having facts on ground. A good navigator should be able to get facts before he makes such commitments. They listen to what others have to say. No leader knows it all. As the saying goes, that one is too small a number to achieve greatness. You need to listen to the team members. There are others that are experts in other fields. You need to listen and have their inputs for you to be able to be a good navigator. Make sure that their conclusions represent both fact and faith and fact. As you make conclusions in your journey as a navigator, you need to be sure that your conclusions at the end of the day represent both faith and fact. That is it. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. The law of navigation. The next one is the law of addition. The law of addition. The law of addition. The law of addition is saying leaders add value by serving others. Now, anyone that calls himself a leader and does not desire service is not fit to be called a leader. Leaders add value by serving others. And anyone that does not serve his team members, the members of his group, club, or association, is not fit to be called a leader. The true measure of leadership, as I have highlighted, is not how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. A leader is expected to make things better for the team members. John Maxwell was quoted saying that if things are not getting better because of your leader's effort, it means you need another leader. A leader is originally designed to lighten the burden of the members, to lead the way, to become an example, to serve them, to add value to them, to make them better than the way they were. The leader experiences this at the cost of adding value to others, fulfillment in leading others. Now, it's not all about what you get, the accolades, the laurels, the awards, and so on and so forth. You find fulfillment as a leader, somebody to achieve that which he desires to achieve. Once you help somebody to maximize his potential. Now, a leader again experiences what? Leadership as a person with the right motives. Once he does that, he adds value. He experiences leadership with the right motives. He knows that he's not doing it for an ulterior reason, but he's doing it because he wanted to add value to the people. And again, the leader experiences development of the team. Once you add value, you are developing the team. The team becomes better than the way they were. As a coach and a leader and the head, you do what? You experiences development. The team members develop. They become better than the way they are. Another experience a leader has is that an attitude of service to the team. He builds that attitude that come what may, he will serve the team. The law of addition, leaders add value by serving others. Now, how do leaders add value to the people in their team or their association? A leader adds value when he or she engages in matters that are beneath his dignity. In quote, this beneath his dignity. Even in this century, a lot of us are thinking that there are things that a leader shouldn't do. He should be seated on the throne while the team members do what is expected to be done. But a leader should come out of his high horse and get to the team members. That is the best way to add value to them. We add value to the team members when we truly value them. People want to be loved. Do you care for me? Remember the questions I asked, where I said every leader should ask himself this question. We do that, add value to them when we truly value them, when we make ourselves valuable, when we know and relate to what they value, when we listen and learn before leading. All these are the key things that a leader should be able to do in order to add value to the team members. For the sake of time, the sixth law is the law of solid ground. The law of solid ground is saying trust is the foundation of leadership. Now, leadership is likened to a journey, and nobody would want to embark on a journey with someone he doesn't trust. In the event where your team members don't trust you, the fact is that you have lost your position as a leader. Leadership is built on trust and nothing more. That you have exemplified over time. They know you with something. Once they're talking about you as a leader, they know that you stand for this. Come rain or come shine, you're not the type that says black and does white. Good character builds trust, and it is the foundation of leadership. They trust you the more. They trust you the more. They see you as a leader that they can confide in, leader that they can stake and sacrifice their lives for. To build trust, a leader must show three qualities. One, competence, connection, and character. Competence in the sense that nobody would want to have a leader that doesn't know what he's doing. He is not well learned in the things he represents as a leader. They want a leader that is competent. Whenever leadership is concerned, he knows what he's doing. Connection, I'm sure this will be handled in the law of connection. It's not talking about connection as it relates to, it's not talking about literal connection, but trying to touch them, touching their hearts with the way you relate to them by adding value to them. You connect with the people once you add value to them. Character, what you stand for. These are three ways that a leader could do what could build trust once he shows competence, connection, and character. Character is key. When you don't have character within, you can't earn respect without. Character is something that is embedded and written on the tablets of your heart. Once you have it within, it comes out naturally. Nobody can pretend for a long time. The real you must surely come out, and the members will get to know what you stand for as a person. So for you to be able to earn respect without, the character should come from within. It should be seen being displayed outside, unconsciously. You may do it consciously over time, but once it is from the inside, unconsciously, you see yourself doing what? Displaying character that would make them be endeared to you the more. You cannot repeatedly break trust with the people and continue to influence them. Once they know you as a leader that consistently break trust, no member of the group would see you as a leader that is worth following. Character communicates consistency. It means morning, afternoon, and evening, it is the same thing you stand for. You're consistent in what you do and what you say. Character communicates potential. They know that because you have exemplified that over time, greater things are yet to come. Character, once they know what you stand for, they respect you because they know that you're somebody that stands for this, and come what may, you don't shift grounds over what you stand for. The sixth law, the law of solid ground, trust. The seventh law, which is the last law, the law of respect. The law of respect. The law of respect. The law of respect is saying people naturally follow leaders that are stronger than themselves. People naturally follow leaders that are stronger than themselves. And it is saying the strength this law is talking about is not about physical might. It's talking about people that have qualities that are stronger than the ones you have as a person. The moment you have some certain qualities, skills, and giftings that are stronger than people, you tend to see yourself attracting people to you. You have strength in these places. Now, when people respect you as a person, they admire you. And when they respect you as a friend, they love you. But when they respect you as a leader, they follow you. Which will make me want to ask this question. Are you being followed? Because if people don't follow you without compulsion, it means you're not being respected as a leader. It is possible that they respect you as a friend. It is possible that they respect you as a person, but people will respect you as a leader and won't follow you. Now, what are some of the qualities that would help a leader to gain respect? Now, one, I said leadership ability. Your ability to lead will naturally make people want to follow you. Once they see that you have leadership ability, you are good in leading, they follow you. Respect for others is also another quality. How you treat people. People that are not on the same social strata with you, not in the same class, but people that are beneath you. How you treat them. The security man, the laborer, the Okada man or the Achaba man, the KK man, the man that sweeps the street. How do you treat them? People would see the way you treat such people and they get endeared to you and they do what they help you and they respect you as their own leader. Courage. Nobody wants to follow a leader that is not courageous. Courage is key in every leadership journey. When the entire team members are scared, are frightened, a leader should be able to rise up to the occasion and be able to do it. Take charge and be courageous. Nobody would be a leader that is not courageous. Unless you stand for what you believe, come rain or come shine, you cannot be a leader. Success record is also another one. What are some of the things you have recorded, the successes you have achieved over your journey in leadership? These are some of the things that will make people respect you. Loyalty. Loyalty. Loyalty to the group, to the vision of the team, the values of the team. Once you're loyal to that, you're not somebody that is a mole in the team. You stand for the identity and what the team believes. Value added to others. And which will take us to the law of what? Law of addition. Leaders add value by serving others. The moment you add value, you'll be respected by your team members. Any leader that does not add value is not fit to be the leader. If things are not getting better because of your leader's effort, I said from the beginning, you need another leader. 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. We have highlighted about 7 of them. I said from the beginning that I had about 20 minutes, and I'm sure I've exceeded the time given to me. Can we raffle through the laws? The first law we handled was the law of the lead. Leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. The second one, the law of influence, where I said leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. The third one, the law of process. Leadership develops daily, not in a day. The fourth one, the law of navigation. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. And the fifth one, the law of addition. Leaders add value by serving others. And the sixth one, the law of solid ground. Trust is the foundation of leadership. And lastly, the law of respect. People naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. Thank you so very much. I now hand over to Mr. Amin, who will be taking over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Haya. Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. I mean, so good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a very powerful session. I too, I have learned a lot, but because of time, I'm going to run through my the remaining leadership law of leadership that I have. That's from law 8 to law 14. So because of time, I'm going to be very fast. So I will enjoin on all the participants to please listen very attentively and avoid as much as possible distractions, because I'm going to run as fast as possible. So starting from the law 8, which is the law of intuition. And basically, intuition is the power of immediate knowing. And intuition is the ability to know what to do without being told. A leader is supposed to have a very strong power of intuition in his leadership display or prowess. For example, if we look at the very classical example of what is happening in Ukraine right now with the attack that was launched upon them by the Russian government, we could see how Zelensky have quickly, immediately engaged his intuitive ability to know what to do by calling on all the citizens to engage in the battle to help the country or to help in defending the country. That is more like a classical example of the law of intuition. It is something that you do without being told. It is something that you know how to do without a reference. It is something that you know what to do without actually having any reference point or having known before that this is the best way to do it. And the next one is the law of magnetism. The law of magnetism, that's the next one, is the law of magnetism. The law of magnetism basically said that who you are is who you attract. Who you are is who you attract. That's the law of magnetism. I can see that the screen is not sharing. Can you hear me? Hello?
It's been shared, sir. Check it out, it's been shared.
Okay, okay, I cannot see it from this place. Okay, the next one is the law of magnetism. That's the next one. And the principle behind the law of magnetism says, who you are is who you attract. Who you are is who you attract. Membership is a reflection of leadership, which means as a leader, the kind of people you attract in an organization depends on the nature of a person that you are. I take it again. As a leader, the law of magnetism says the kind of people you attract in the organization depends on the kind of a person that you are. So basically, membership is a reflection of leadership. For example, if you have a focused, dedicated, workaholic leader, chances are that he's going to attract to the organization people who are focused, people who are dedicated, people who are workaholic. If you have a leader who is a kind of a lackadaisical in displaying his duty, it is the same that is the kind of people that is going to attract. So the law of magnetism is a principle that says that as a leader, you attract your kind into the organization. And for those of us, I'm sorry to use it to my other faith brethren who are on this platform. But for those of us that are Christians here, we know that the Bible talks about deep calleth unto deep, which means there is something about your very essence, about your very nature that attract the kind of people that come around you. That's the law of magnetism. So the law of magnetism is a principle of leadership that is based upon the nature of the leader. Whatever you see happening in the organization, whatever process you see working in the organization is actually largely dependent on the kind of the leader. So the leader attracts his kind to the organization. The next one is the law of connection. The law of connection. That's the next one, the law of connection. And the law of connection says leaders touch the heart before they ask for the hand. The law of connection says leaders must touch the heart before they ask for the hand. In most cases, you discover that based on this, reverse is the case. Most leaders will usually want to ask for the hand to get people to put their hands on deck, to do whatever they dish out to people in the name of their dishing out instruction, rather than first and foremost touching the heart of the people. But there is a big question. What does it mean to touch the heart of the people before you ask for the hand? I will quickly look at the next thing. He said that you can move people to action. You can't move people to action unless you first move them with emotion. The heart comes before the head, which basically means that it depends on how, as individuals within the organization, the leader is connected to them at individual basis and at individual level, which means you cannot really get people to be committed to work in any organization, in any setting, unless there is that deliberateness as a leader to reach out and touch their heart. What does it mean to touch their heart? For example, attend their funerals. That's what it means to touch their heart. Basically, humans are naturally endeared to people who connect to them at level that really touch their humanity, one of which is funeral, naming ceremony, marriages, and celebrations that actually relate to the people you are leading. So if a leader must lead effectively, there is a need for that leader to touch the heart before he asks for the hand. And how do I say you need to touch the heart? You need to meet the people or connect to them at the level of their emotions. Connected to them at the level of their emotions is to engage with them at places or instances that really connect to their humanity. Like I said, one, attend their funerals, attend their naming ceremonies, attend things that concerns them personally. It is easier when you do that for you to get people to be committed within the level or line of an organization. The next one is the law of the inner cycle. That's the next one, the law of the inner cycle. I'm very sorry, like I said, I have to rush. I'm already signaled that the time is fast spent. So the next one is the law of the inner cycle. That's the next one, the law of the inner cycle. And the law of the inner cycle says a leader's potential is determined by those closest to him. The law of the inner cycle says that that's law 10, law 11 rather, says a leader's potential is determined by those who are closest to him. You can tell the prowess, the skills of a leader by basically looking at the people who we refer to in Nigerian system as the kitchen cabinet. And I know that this is a term that has come to the fore of every Nigerian, especially in this regime. When we begin to talk about the Abbacharis, God bless his memory, when we begin to talk about people like the Malami, when we begin to talk about so many people who run the Aso Villa, and people are meant to believe that they are the people who are pushing the button and are making the president act based on their pushing. Now, the law of the inner cycle is saying that we know who a leader is and what he can deliver based on the kind of people that we see around him. Based on the kind of people that we see around him, there is this Hausa adage that I love. It says, for those of us who understand Hausa, ba a mugun sarki sai mugun bafade, which is a classical way of saying that you actually can tell the nature of the leader in every setting by looking at the people who are very closer to him. That's the law of the inner cycle. And the law of the inner cycle says you can only be as strong as those who are close to you. The law of the inner cycle. You can only be as strong as those who are close to you. Law 11, please. Law 11, please. We are on law 11. And law 11 says leaders' potential is determined by those who are close to them. And we said you can tell the potential of a leader by looking at the people who are close to him. In fact, the law of the inner cycle is almost a flip side of the law of the lead, which means you cannot grow any organization, you cannot grow any enterprise beyond the level of the kind of the people that are surrounding the leader or the coach in that leadership. The next one, law 12, is the law of empowerment, is the law of empowerment. The next one, law 12, is the law of empowerment, the law of empowerment. And the law of empowerment works on this principle that if you want your organization, the law of empowerment, law 12, if you want your organization to be strong, if you want your organization to be effective, if you want your organization to be efficient, then as a leader, you must understand the need to enlarge others. That enlarging others makes you larger, which means if you want any organization to work properly, if you want any organization to work powerfully, then a leader must understand that there is a power behind what is called capacity building training. That at different intervals, a leader needs to understand the need to enlarge the capacity of those who are following him. And only secure leaders empower others. In most cases, this is more like a disadvantage. Why is it that leaders don't empower those that are following them? It is because they are not secured. They are afraid that you will outshine them. They are afraid that you may take over their roles. But a leader who knows what it means to move an organization to the next level, a leader who understands what it means to make an organization work powerfully, must understand that there is a need for him to enlarge the people whom he's working with. And how do you enlarge the people? Like I said, build their capacities, send them to symposium, send them to training, organize in-house training, organize in-house symposium, something that will sharpen their skills in the areas of their endeavors within the organization. In fact, if any organization must move effectively, there is a need for you to, at quarterly level or at the meaningful interval, organize different programs that is geared towards empowering people. The next one is the law of the big picture, the law of the big picture, which is law 12, the law of the big picture. People do what they see. The law of the big picture says people do what they see. And as a leader, you lead people not by the words of your mouth, but you basically lead people by action. And I want to take as a classical example of, again, what is happening in Russia. President Zelensky of Ukraine, when the attack comes, More than just telling the people to pick up their weapons and go to the battlefront and defend their country, what did he do? He wore his battle kits, went to the battlefront. I believe that so many of us could see the pictures going around on social media. That's a classical example of the law of the big picture. What did he simply do? He demonstrated to the people what he actually is verbally saying. So a leader needs to be highly visionary and highly practical. In most cases, people are only connected to what they see rather than what they hear. I take it again. In most cases, people are connected to what they see than what they hear. So a leader, if you must move an organization, you need to understand the power of example. You need to understand the power of example, that there is a need for you to lead example. And finally, the last law. The last law is the law of the buy-in. The last law is the law of the buy-in. People buy into the leader, then the vision. This law says people buy into the leader, then the vision. That people are attracted to an organization, in most cases, not just based on the vision, how good the vision of the organization is, but by the kind of a leader who is leading the organization. In Nigeria, we have our fair share of the law of the buy-in, that what happened in 2019 is a classical example of the law of the buy-in. A lot of people are looking through the Nigerian dream in the eye of who General Muhammadu Buhari is. And it was very easy for the party, APC, to get a free ticket into the presidency, because the populace of Nigeria, the 100 and something million people that we have in Nigeria, buy into the leader, which is Buhari, then division. Whatever is happening into division now, I'm not at liberty to begin saying it. But the leader, like we said in the law of the buy-in, finds the dream and the people, then the people find the leader and the dream. The basic principle behind the law of the buy-in is that the people first buy into the leader, then division, which means the leader is the most important commodity that is sellable before any vision. So you don't just go about talking about how powerful or how articulate our vision is. What we first sell, or what is the first point of our selling, is the nature of the leader. That's the first point of our selling. And this law is almost connected to Law 9, which is the law of magnetism. And in Law 9, the law of magnetism, if you could recall very well, we say that the leader attracts the kind of people that he is. It is the kind of the leader or the nature of the leader that attracts the people who come into the organization. It's almost the same thing with the law of the buy-in, that people buy into the leader, then the vision. And very quickly, what we're able to look at within this short period of time is Law 8 to 14. The first one is the law of intuition, which depends on facts and instinct for a leader to put together to run the organization very viable. We say that the leader first will have to put into consideration the facts, then use his instinct to know which play to call. And the second one is the law of magnetism. And we say the basic principle behind the law of magnetism is that who you are is who you attract. And Law 10 is the law of connection. We say that the leader must touch the heart before he asks for the hand. And we go on to say, how do you touch the heart? We say by connecting at the level of the people's humanity. And the next one is the law of the inner cycle. We say that a leader's prowess is displayed by the kind of people that are around him. Law 12 is the law of empowerment. We say to move an organization effectively and powerfully, the leader must see the need to constantly enlarge the people. The Law 13 is the law of the big picture, which we say that people do only what they see, and the leader must understand the need to lead by example. And the last one is the law of the buy-in. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ami. Thank you for that powerful session. Good to hear from you again. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Nicholas Shuja. So I'm taking you from Law 15 down to 21. But actually, we are reviewing the book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And so I'm starting with the next law, which is the law of victory. The law of victory. And the law of victory says, leaders find a way for the team to win. Leaders find a way for the team to win, meaning leaders have the ability to bring victory to the team, and leadership is responsible. Leaders take responsibility without giving excuses, but take responsibility. And leaders take responsibility when there's a defeat, when a defeat happened. The first part of the law of victory is that the leader takes responsibility and no excuse. It is, he goes ahead to say, it is my fault. So because losing is unacceptable to a leader. And as a leader, anything less than victory is unacceptable to him. So leaders do not allow the team to lose. They are passionate. Their passion is unquenchable. So leaders are passionate people. They are passionate about winning because they are passionate people, and they evaluate how every member of the team is going about doing his or her own job, or every member of a team is playing, not how he is playing. So that is the law of victory. Creativity is essential because intuitive leader, like you heard from the other facilitator, intuitive leader will find an idea that has eluded others for the team to attain victory. And so quitting is unacceptable. So leaders do not quit, but find a fight for the team to win. Commitment is unquestionable. Victory is inevitable. Your inner cycle from the other laws where you hear the law of inner cycle. Your inner cycles must understand this aspect that yes, it's all about winning. And so this one, they understand this one very well, and they understand that the law of victory is not an individual trophy, but everybody's trophy. So that is why every member of the team need to be carried along. And the 15th law that I'm still dwelling on, the law of the leaders find a way for the team to win. It has some component, the unity of purpose. You must have unity of vision. You must all agree that, yes, this is what we are going to, that we're going for. Diversity of skills. Everyone must have what I cannot do, you can do. My weakness must be your strength. And my strengths, I must have strength in one aspect, and you having dealing with where you have weaknesses, then I must have strength in that aspect. So leader that is dedicated to victory and to raising players to their potentials. And the next law, which is the 16th law, the law of the big move. We call it the law of momentum, which is the law of the big move. We call it the law of the big move. Many a times, the only difference between time and losing is momentum. The only difference between time that is the difference between winning and losing is momentum. So the law of momentum sustains the victory longer. The law of the big move sustains the victory. That is why the law of the momentum is saying momentum is the leader's best friend. Momentum is the leader's best friend. That is the law of the momentum. The difference between winning and losing, like I said, is momentum. So the law of momentum sustains the victory longer, as momentum allows you to be successful a longer time. It tells about success story, those things that you have done over time that kept you winning, and those things will be reminding you that you've done it before. So you remain steadfast. Without momentum, even the simplest task seemed impossible. Small tasks seemed unsurmountable. Then the morale becomes low. The future appears very dark. But with momentum, momentum makes leaders look better than they are. That is why it is called leaders' best friend. Now, momentum makes, when there's no momentum, it makes leaders look worse than they are. So you need something that will keep you going, that you have done it before, you can do it again. So without momentum, it takes less energy to perform or to solve problems. So leaders are like the thermostat. They control the temperature, while followers are like thermometer. They record the temperature. So if you are going to be a leader, as you are already, starting from the law of the lead, I bet you that you're a leader already. So you need to create momentum for yourself, for the team to be moving ahead. So developing momentum creates forward progress. You concentrate on what you can do, not what you cannot. Now you celebrate victory no matter how small it is. It says, if you cannot take the heat, then you get out of the kitchen. Meaning you need to keep moving, because there are so many criticisms that will be coming. There are so many bashing that will be coming. So you need to sustain the momentum so that you'll be able to move ahead. I'm going to rush down to the 17th law, which is priority, the law of priorities. The law of priority said that leaders understand that activity is not necessary accomplishment. It's not about getting busy. It's not about getting busy that makes you to be an accomplished person. No, activities are not just necessarily an accomplishment. To accomplish your tasks, embrace the law of priority. How do you do that? Prioritize your need, prioritize your activities. If you have 10 things to do and you prioritize them correctly, you only do, by doing only the first 2 points, the first 2 on your priority, I bet you achieve 80% return on everything you need on your set priorities. So priorities give you good reward when you use 80-20 principles. So you prioritize people according to what? To their effectiveness. Spend 80% with your top 2% important of your priority list. So to accomplish your tasks, embrace the law of priority and evaluate your priority on a consistent basis. So the 3 R's on priority, your needs, what is required? What do you require? What must be done? What must I do that nobody else have done before? This is talking about the law of intuition. What has eluded others that I can bring on the table for us to move forward? What gives the greatest return? That leaders should be what? Should get out of the comfort zone, but stay in the strength zone. They get out of the comfort zone, but stay in the strength zone for them to what? To move the organization forward. If there are members that you are leading, you have a team that you are leading, you need to what? You need to stay on your strength zone, not on your comfort zone. What brings the greatness? Reward. What brings the greatest reward? What brings you personal satisfaction? Always make time for what? For the things you love that will bring the best to the team that you are leading. Busy doing nothing. So prioritizing is identifying the appropriate value and order of event. Divide the activities into different sections. You can divide them into like A, B, C, D, categorize them. You have the highest, the one that has the higher level and must be what? Must be done today. Those are your priorities. That is why maybe your first 2 on the priority must be in your A, your category A. So you focus on those ones, dwell on them, use your 80% to achieve that. Then you get reward, and you'll be able to what? To achieve the other ones. Leaders understand that activities is not necessarily accomplishment. So leaders never advance to a point where they no longer need to prioritize. So busyness does not equal productivity. You cannot be everywhere. So you learn to what? Delegate. So prioritizing requires leaders to what? To continually think ahead. They think ahead, apply that principle of 80-20%. When you use that principle, then you'll be able to achieve, you focus on the first important one. The scale of preference, we understand, all of those of us that did economics in our secondary school days. The scale of preference, you identify them. This one comes before this one comes before this. Focus on the first 2 on your list. then you will be able to achieve. When you focus using your 80% to dwell on those first two, you'll be able to achieve a lot in your work, in your leadership skills. And the next law, which is the law of sacrifice. I'm going straight to the law of sacrifice. For everything you gain, you must what? Lose something. For everything you gain, you must lose something. You must have to get up to go up. You must get out of your bed in the morning before you achieve anything in the morning. I mean, throughout the day. You cannot sleep all through the day and you wish to achieve everything that has been itemized in your list. No, you must get out of, you must what? You must get out of your bed. You must get out of your bed to go up. You have to grow up to what? To go up. You need to gather people to go up. You get your team in place to what? To go up. When you go up to do, when you go up, do not relax. Do not relax there because you don't relent. You come down and gather people to what? To take a trip with you. When you are in that place, in that top, learn to what? To mentor others. That's what I'm trying to say. You learn to mentor others because you need to, it's a lot of empowerment. You need to learn to what? To allow people to grow as well. Being on top doesn't mean that you need to be there without having a succession. Leaders show the rest of the team experience they have never had and show them areas they have never been to. So leaders take many people with them, but you must what? You must give up to what? To go up. That is sacrifice. You must sacrifice something. The higher you go in leadership and leadership pyramid, the less options you have. As a servant leader, you are there to make it better for people, not because of yourself. You are to add value as a leader. There's no success without sacrifice. So you must sacrifice something. Before getting to that place, you must what? There must be things that you have sacrificed. Before you pass your exam, you must have sacrificed your sleep. You must burn candles, right? Yeah, so you must burn candles at night. You must sacrifice your sleep before you pass your exams. So that is what I'm saying about, that's what I'm talking about, the law of sacrifice. The higher the level of leadership, the greater the sacrifice. That is the fact. It is easy to give up when you don't have money or position or reputation. But when you have, sometimes you give up money before you achieve. When you go to the market, what do? You give up money before you what? You buy anything that you want to buy in the market. So you have made sacrifice. So leadership is all about making sacrifice. You have to give up to stay up. You need to what? Reproduce yourself and stay on top by giving up to stay up continuously. The higher you go, the price gets what? Get higher. The law of the sacrifice, leaders must give up to what? To go up. So the next one, which is the law of timing. The law of timing. Timing is everything. So when to lead is as important as when to do and where to go. That is the law of timing. The law of timing is saying when to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. Requirement for timing. The law of timing requires leaders to what? To do the right thing, the first thing at the right time. I take it again. The law of timing requires leaders to do what? To do the right thing the first time at the right time. Give attention, review and reflect on major things you have done. Review and reflect on failed initiatives. The law of timing is very important to a leader's success. The law of timing and intuition migrates to what? To natural leader. These laws allow a leader to what? To sense their ways through. When you are taking a decision as a leader, the timing of the decision is as important as the decision itself. Do you get that? When you are taking a decision as a leader, the timing is important, very, very important. Timing of the decision is as important as what? As the decision itself. When to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. When a leader makes a move, there are things that happen. 4 things happen. The wrong action at the wrong time lead to what? Disaster. When you are taking decision, I'm going to take it again. When to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. So when a leader makes a move, that means when you are taking a decision, there are 4 outcomes, 4 things happen. First, let me take it. The wrong action at the wrong time leads to what? Disaster. 2, the wrong action at the wrong time brings resistance. What is happening today? This number 2. In Nigeria, we agree that taking out subsidy, fuel subsidy, it's very good. Analysts have agreed that it's a very good thing, but it's going to, when it's implemented, it's going to be done in a very wrong time. And that is why you are facing resistance in one way or the other. Yes, it's very good, but what happened? But it's taken at the wrong time. Then the wrong action at the right time is a mistake. But the 4th one, the right action at the right time result in success. That is the goal of the law of timing. You need to find a very good time for you to take the best action. And so when you do that, you achieve success. The right action, when you take the right action at the right time, you have a good result. The result is always what? Is always a success. The next law, which is law 20, the 20th law, the law of explosive growth. The law of explosive growth. The law of explosive growth says leaders who develop leaders multiply. Leaders who develop leaders multiply. You only multiply when you develop leaders. To add growth, you lead followers. But to what? To multiply, you grow leaders. If you want to multiply, learn to what? Learn to grow leaders. Because that is the only way you can have successors. Now, leaders who develop followers, they need to what? They need to be needed. That is the law. The leaders who develop followers, they always want to be needed. Thank you. If not because of you, I would have been able to achieve this. It is because of you that I was able to achieve this. That is what they need as a leader. Those are the leaders that develop followers. While leaders who develop leaders want to be what? Want to be succeeded. They want somebody to take over from them when they are not there. But what happened to leaders who develop followers? They want to get that appreciation always. If not you, I wouldn't have been where I am today. That is the leader who develop followers. But those that develop leaders, they want people to succeed them. In leadership, leaders who develop leaders will always be saying, I hope somebody will succeed me. I hope somebody will rise above me. I hope somebody will do better than I do. That is the leader who develops leaders. Or, you won't be where I am today. You made my life better. These are the leaders. This is what you'll be hearing. The leaders who develop other followers, this is what they'll be expecting you to say. They get their ego satisfied from their followers. They get their ego satisfied from their followers. You made my life better. That's the only thing they want to hear. Do you desire to have do you desire to have people that will just stroke you and tell you how good you are? Desire to reproduce yourself. You rather desire to what? To reproduce yourself and develop leaders around you. Some of them will be what? Will be undoubtedly be quicker, better, faster, smarter than you are. So these are the kind of people you develop. These are the kind of leaders you want to become because you want to leave a legacy. So your goal as a leader is what? Have people you develop that will pass you. What you desire will determine whether you develop leaders or you develop followers. Focus. Leaders who develop followers focus in their weakness of people, while leaders who develop leaders focus on the strength of people. That is the major difference. That is the major difference here. So learn to develop leaders. As whatever position you are occupying today, somebody need to get to that position one day. So begin to put plans in place. Begin to mentor others. Begin to develop leaders, not followers. That is the law of, that is the 20th law, which is the law of explosive growth. The next law, which is the last law, the law of legacy. The law of legacy. A leader lasting value is measured by succession. A leader lasting value is measured by succession. A team of good leaders is needed in order to succeed. So develop your successor. Know when to walk away when the ovation is loud. Learn when to walk away. Know when to walk away. Develop a successor. Begin to have people in place that want to take over from you. Some positions are not there forever. Some are 4 years, some are 3 years, some are 2 years. And who are you mentoring today? Our ability as leader will not be measured by the building we build or institution as established. I'm not saying those are not important, very, very important. We will be judged by how well the people we invest in how well the people we invested in carried on after we are gone. A life isn't significant except for impact on other lives. How to leave a legacy? Know the legacy you want to leave. Good legacy. Most people simply accept their lives. They don't want to lead them. No. You need to leave a legacy you want to leave. You need to live it. You need to live the legacy you want to live in. Let people begin to see what they are copying from you. Because whatever you are preaching to them, they want to see it live in you. They want to see it replicated in your lifetime. And that is what they want to be reckoned with. You are mentoring people either by your way of dressing or by your way, the way you talk or the way you do your things. That is how people learn from you. Sometimes leaving your home, you might not know people, leaving your home to your place of work. People that have come in contact with you might not be more than 10, but those that have cited you on the way are more than 100 or in thousands. So you need to be very careful and be intentional. It's a process, like the first speaker said about the law of process. You need to be intentional in doing things around yourself because people are watching you. And that is the only thing you are preaching to them and they know about you. Not exactly what you want them to be, because you need to live with them. And the law of legacy says the only thing that walks back from the tomb with the mourners and refuses to be buried is the character of a man. And this is true. When those of us that have been to the graveyard, to the burial ground after burying a man, what happened? You begin to chat back. Oh, this man is so humble. This man is this. This is what he is. He represents. This is what he lives for. These are the only things that you'll be saying about him. Those are the things that refuse to be buried. The carcass, the ordinary body is buried for it to be decayed. But whatever you are saying is those are the legacy he has left behind. And what legacy are you going to leave behind? What are you going to live for? Assuming to be dead. Everybody is scared of that. I know maybe some people are scared of that. Then your casket is just your dead body is in front of you. What do you want people to say about you? These are the legacy you need to leave behind. Are they going to say this man is a wicked soul? Or are they going to say, wow, he lived a fulfilled life. He mentored so many people. He was able to give out to people and he was able to do this and do that. This is true. What a man is survived him. It can never be buried. So whatever you do today is what will be left behind. These are the law. This is what the law of legacy is talking about. And I ask you this question: what is your legacy? Thank you so very much. I appreciate you very well. Thank you for listening. And these are the 25 laws of leadership that we've just brought to you. The first law, the law of the lead. The second law, the law of influence. The law of principle, the law of process, which is law 3. Law 4, the law of navigation. The law 5, the law of addition. The 6th law, the law of solid ground. And the 7th law, the law of respect. The 8th law, the law of intuition. The 9th law, the law of magnetism. And the 10th law, the law of connection. The law of inner cycle is the 11th law, the law of empowerment. That is 12. Number 13, the law of picture. Number 14, the law of buying in. 15, the law of victory, where I started from. And the 16th law, the law of the big move, we call it the law of momentum. The law of priorities, that is the 17th law. The 18th law, the law of sacrifice. And the 19th law, the law of timing. Timing is everything. The law of explosive growth, this is law 20. The 21st law, the law of legacy. A leader's legacy value is measured by succession. Who is succeeding you and what is your legacy? Thank you so very much. Can take it up, Vash. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas. Thank you very much, Mr. Yahaya. And thank you very much, Mr. Amin. It was really an interesting session. And I wish we had so much time. This is 21 Laws of Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is a book that we can take days reviewing it. So I will encourage all participants to try and get the book and then go through it very well. We really appreciate all your effort. We are a bit behind schedule, but it will be important we take questions if we have any. So please, if you have questions, I'm going to take like 3 people so that we don't waste so much time, so that we can move to the next person. Please question any question. If you have a question, you raise up your hand. I'll take 3. And I have Seth Samuel and then Muazu Abubakar. So Seth Samuel, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Hello, Seth Samuel. Seth Samuel. Okay. Muazu Abubakar, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Muazu Abubakar. I was attending the last meeting that I held yesterday. So I would like to share my great appreciation to the organizers of this great program. I would like to ask for the just now. That's the law of the leadership. I'm asking whether if you can get a copy, even if it is a PDF, let it be shared to our platform in group there, WhatsApp group, so that we can have a copy. Maybe later on we can review it for more understanding. That's my request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Muazu Abubakar. We are sure going to share it with you on all the slides on your platform. But we encourage you to get the book by John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, so that you can go deeper into it and get all the juicy part of it. Thank you very much. I will take one more person. Ali Mibash Joel, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Ali Mibash Joel, unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask of the copy of the books too, but my comrade have already made mention of that. But nevertheless, I think I'm very happy to be here, and it is a thing of joy to have this kind of leadership training. And one more thing is that, in fact, I'm very happy that I'm part and parcel of it. So the books, as you say, that you to be shared to us, in fact, we're full of expectation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bash, because of time, their position can come later so that we can.
Yeah, like I said, I just took 3. So we are going straight to the next session, which is Leadership and Nation Building by Mr. Femi Rees.
Bash?
Sir?
I just felt, since others have not asked a major question,
maybe we can just give room for one person that have a major question to ask. Sorry, I just thought of something like that.
Can the question come in the chat form? Because I wouldn't know who has a major question. So I think the person with the major question should just drop it on the chat box.
Okay, that's fair.
Thank you. And I hope Mr. Femi Reese is ready. We'll take note of the question and then get back to you. So please drop your questions on the chat box. Okay. In the absence of anything, meanwhile, as I promised, we'll take note of your questions and we'll revert back to you. It is time for us to welcome Mr. Femi Reese for his session, Leadership and Nation Building. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much, Vash. I think my session is identifying and solving problems, but I guess you might have just missed it on your schedule. Except you want me to take both leadership and nation.
Sorry about that. I just realized that my eyes went to something else, identifying and solving problems.
Yes, no problem at all. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lead Thoughts, for putting this initiative together. Please, may I know when am I to stop? I'm to stop at what time so that I get things right?
3:30, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 3:30, perfect. So I thank Lead Thoughts for putting such initiatives in place. You know, I believe if this initiative is continued consistently, you know, over time, then in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we'll have a crop of leaders that will be equipped to handle the new Nigeria. I strongly believe there's a new Nigeria that has been born, and right now, those who are wise will start making investments into the new Nigeria instead of trying to complain about what is happening in the old Nigeria. And I believe part of what Lead Thoughts is doing here is making investments in the new Nigeria. So I thank Lead Thoughts, and I thank all the speakers. I dropped in when Mr. Nicholas was sharing on the 21 laws, irrefutable laws of leadership, and it was a very nice session for the part that I had. So thank you very much, and I'll be taking identifying and solving problems. I don't know, let me see if I have permission to share. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So I'll be taking identifying and solving problems. Identifying and solving problems. So I would want to share my screen. So if there are questions in the course of my session, just note them so that you can save time when it comes to that aspect. Okay. So identifying and solving problems. Okay. Let me turn off my camera so I can focus on my slides, okay? This is part of what leaders do, identifying and solving problems. And since this is a leadership session, we felt it is important to take this part of it. So our roadmap for today, learning outcomes, we basically want to understand the basic concepts of identifying the process of the basic concept of identifying process and apply this concept to identify problems. Sorry, that's a mistake. the basic concept of identifying problems and how to apply these concepts to real life situations. Those are the two things we want to do. So everything we're going to be looking at today, everything we're going to be sharing is tied around understanding the basic concept of identifying problems, and then how can we apply these concepts to identifying and solving problems in a real life situation, right? Now, some opening thoughts here that I would want to quickly make is two statements. One, you would either be remembered for the problems you created or the problems you solved. Note that everybody would either be remembered for the problems they created or the problems they solved. As a leader, people will remember you for one of two things. They will remember you for the problems you created or for the problems you solved. If I mention the name Osama bin Laden, for example, automatically everybody will remember him for the problem he created. If I mention the name Nelson Mandela, everybody automatically remember him for the problems he solved. You will be remembered for one of two things. If you understand this, it's going to simplify things for you. Either the problems you created or the ones you solved, right? The second thing I want to say in my opening thoughts is that leaders solve problems they didn't create. That's the job description of leaders, right? Leaders solve problems that they didn't create. All our leaders in Nigeria that were shouting, this man is there and this thing is happening like this. This man is there and this thing is happening like this. This woman is there and this thing is happening like this. All these problems that we are shouting about these leaders to solve. Question, are they the ones that created it? The answer is no, they didn't create it. But why are we looking up to them and insisting that they solve them? Because that is the expectation of leaders. Leaders are expected to solve problems they didn't create. It is not Buhari that created the power problem in Nigeria. It's not Buhari that made the NEPA not to give you light last night. It's not because of Buhari. But why do we want him to solve our problems? Because leaders solve problems that they didn't create. That's a simple fact. The next comment I want to make in my opening thoughts is that the leader's unwritten job description, wherever you find yourself, right? Your first job description as a leader is to ensure everything works perfectly well. As a leader, wherever you find yourself, your first job description is to ensure that everything works optimally well and there are no problems. Your second job description is to solve those problems if they occur. And then your third job description is to ensure that those problems never occur again. Did you get those three things? This is the unwritten job description of a leader. The first job description, your first job description as a leader is to ensure that everything is working well, like clockwork. Everything is working seamlessly, like a well-oiled machine. Then your second job is to ensure that if perhaps in the unlikely event that something goes wrong and a problem occurs, that those problems are solved promptly and speedily. In the unlikely event that something goes wrong and a problem comes up, your second job description is to ensure that those problems are solved promptly and speedily. And then your final job description is to make sure that those problems never occur again. Meaning, once a problem comes up once and you deal with it, you have to ensure it never repeats itself as a leader. Bill Gates released the book last week or 2 weeks ago, and he says that in the book he's sharing with us how we will never have to deal with a pandemic like we just dealt with again, how we will never have to find ourselves in such situation again. He said that's the thoughts he's sharing in that book. So he's not responsible for that, but as a leader, he's thinking, how can I ensure that this problem never repeats itself again? It's an unwritten job description of leader, right? So now, in identifying and solving problems, I want to break this session into two parts. The first part is identifying problems. Identifying problems. It was Albert Einstein that said, if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I would spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute resolving it. He said, if I were given 1 hour, they give him 60 minutes and say, Mr. Einstein, save the planet in 60 minutes. He said he will sit down and settle down. He will use the first 59 minutes to understand the problem very well, analyze it thoroughly, get a handle of it. Then the last final minute, he will deliver the blow that will solve that problem. You see, the reason why many times you are delivering plenty blows on many problems around us and the problems are not going away is because we have not invested enough time in even understanding what the problem is. Imagine you are trying to solve a problem that you don't understand. Do you know in mathematics, for example, when you were in school, or for those of you who are still in formal school now, in mathematics, which of the problems did you fail in the exam? The answer is the problems you didn't understand. You actually passed all the problems you understood. The ones that you failed are the problems you didn't understand. How come in mathematics, you know that you must first understand the problem if you will pass? But in life, you don't apply that same wisdom to know that, okay, why don't I settle down and first understand the problem so that I can deliver a blow that will solve the problem? So that's what Albert Einstein said. He said, I will spend 59 minutes identifying the problem, defining it, and then the last minute resolving it. So now let's see identifying problems. Identifying the problem is far more important than solving it. Gentlemen and ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, identifying the problem is far more important than solving it. Because without identifying the problem, you will never get it solved. Without identifying the problem, you will never get it solved. So identifying the problem to know what exactly is the problem. What exactly is the problem? Without identifying the problem, you will never get it solved. So what are the steps now in identifying problems? What are the steps now in identifying problems? The first step is it really a problem? Is it really a problem? That's the first question you should ask yourself. Is it really? Because I've discovered that many times people don't really understand what the problem is. The things that they call problem is not a problem. It's simply that it is outside their comfort zone. That's why they call it problem. I thank God for the last session where Mr. Nicholas was sharing about leaders constantly being in the stretch zone. Those who live in the comfort zone, we have plenty of problems. Not because those things are problems, but because they are in their comfort zone. So the first thing is it really a problem? You must clarify it because it might not necessarily be a problem. I've been in situations where I've seen people cracking their head trying to solve problems that don't exist. Because for them, it is a problem. For me, with my mind, I'm looking at what they're looking at and they're trying to solve this problem. But me, I'm trying to see an opportunity that I can harvest. So while one person is looking at this thing and say, oh, see this problem. Another person is looking and saying, wow, look at this opportunity. So you must switch your mindset and look and ask, is it really a problem? Clarify it. Clarify it. You see, many people congratulate themselves for solving problems that never existed. And they say, yes, many people in offices today, sadly so, in Nigeria, many people in offices, they spend 9 hours or whatever quantity of hours they put in their daytime jobs, they spend 9 to 5 solving problems that never existed. So the man was at the office all day, activity without productivity. Then he comes back home and he says, yes, I'm tired though. He tells his wife, where's my food? The wife will say, this man must have conquered plenty problems in the office. The man was just busy with activities. He didn't solve problems. His activities were not helping the office solve the main problems that were facing there. Then he congratulates himself and say, it was a very, very productive day today. Very productive day. Many people congratulate themselves for solving problems that never existed. Now, the sad thing is that they will have spent time and resources, and they will have wasted time and resources on these things. The second point in identifying problems is, what problem is it? So if you have said, okay, this is a problem, what is the problem really? every problem must be clearly defined. Every problem must be clearly defined. When the pandemic hit from Wuhan, China, the first thing the world leaders started doing, WHO and other bodies around the world, the first thing they started doing is trying to understand what exactly are we dealing with? What really is the problem here? Can we do some analysis? What can we do? What really is the problem here? Every problem must be clearly defined. I was driving with my wife on Sunday, and we were driving past long queues in the filling station. And I asked her, I said, what really is the problem? She said, they said they brought bad fuel, which was not good, and they supplied bad fuel and blah, 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 blah. I said, is that really the problem? Because for me, that is not the problem. And if that is the problem that our leaders are trying to solve, then that is sad. For me, that's not the problem. If the problem is bad fuel, then bad fuel is not the problem. The problem, if that is the situation, that is the situation, but that is not the problem. If it is bad fuel, as they put it, because you hear a lot of things on the news today, and I take everything with a pinch of salt. But if it is bad fuel, as they put it, bad fuel is not the problem. Bad fuel is the situation. The problem, the real problem, is that there was no proper regulatory system in place to ensure that such fuel does not transit from all the way from production and end up at the end user, escaping all forms of regulatory compliance checks that ought to have happened in between. That is the problem. If bad fuel is what they say, then bad fuel is not the problem, bad fuel is the situation. So every problem must be clearly defined. What really is the problem? What really is the problem? What really is the problem? There's this popular management quiz about an elevator problem, right? And people, they installed an elevator in an office building. And people are thankful, of course, that yes, they've installed an elevator. They don't have to start climbing 5 floors to their offices, 10 floors to their offices. So they started using the elevator. Then after some months passed, they started complaining and say, this elevator is too slow. They are complaining to the managers of the facility. This elevator is too slow. This elevator is becoming too slow. You people are not maintaining this elevator properly. People are not servicing this elevator properly. Now, the owners of the facility got a regular person and say, how do we solve this elevator problem? He said, let us perhaps change the engine. So they invested money, invested time, and changed the elevator engine. The following day, people are still complaining. This elevator, you people say you worked on this thing, and why is this still so slow? It takes us like almost 20 seconds to get to just second floor. It takes me almost 1 minute to get to my 10th floor office. So they now called a proper manager that has the mindset of a leader. And he said, please help us look into this elevator problem. So he looked at it and he told the owners of the facility, I know how I'll solve your elevator problem. You people have spent how much? You people have spent 5 million naira changing the engines. Okay. Take 20,000 naira and buy mirrors. Bring the mirrors. Let's install the mirrors inside the elevator. So they bought mirrors with 20,000 naira and they put the mirrors on the 4 walls of the elevator. So suddenly when people enter the elevator and they're going to their offices, they now start looking in the mirror and they're adjusting their tie and doing their final adjustment so that they don't appear in the office looking rough. The ladies are adjusting their hair quickly as they're looking before they know anything, the door has opened, they are their floor, they have not even finished adjusting their tie. Hey! They rush out of the thing. Suddenly the elevator became too fast. The elevator that was too slow before suddenly became too fast. They said this elevator is too fast. What did people, before we can even finish what we are doing, the thing has opened the door and we're at our office already. What did you people make it too fast? You see, the real thing is that the first person who treated that problem did not really identify the problem. It wasn't an elevator problem. It was a boredom problem. It is that people did not know how to spend the waiting time. So they became bored by waiting. So he said, okay, this is not a problem with your elevator. This is a problem with the people. They are bored while they're inside the elevator. So let's give them something to do. So every problem must be clearly defined. You must really, really understand as a leader, you must really understand what the problem is. What in the world am I dealing with here? You must be able to answer that question. What in the world am I dealing with in this place? Now, the third thing in identifying problems is whose problem is it? Every problem must be owned. Every problem must be owned. Do you know the reason why we have plenty unsolved problems in Nigeria? Because people have not taken ownership of the problem. Every problem must be owned. As far as Nigerians are concerned, every problem belongs to the government, including the bad road that is in front of your house. It is the government's problem. Including the salt that is not enough in your soup. It is Buhari's problem. It's because of Buhari. That's why salt is not enough in your soup. And when the salt is too much in your soup, it's because of your state governor. That's why the salt is too much. Every problem in the eyes of many Nigerians belongs to the government. Ladies and gentlemen, every problem must be owned. We have too many orphaned problems in Nigeria. When I say orphan, meaning the problem doesn't have parents, it doesn't have father, it doesn't have mother, nobody has taken responsibility for it. The problem is just there. We have too many orphaned problems in Nigeria. But leaders look at it from a different point. So they say, whose problem is this? When COVID struck, initially it was China's problem, right? But soon, because it was China's problem and people thought it was China's problem, very soon it graduated and became everybody's problem. So it even became at the family level, it became our family problem too, because you now have to start wearing masks when you and your family are going out. You now have to start using hand sanitizers and doing everything. So something that before was China's problem, suddenly everybody now has to own it. It's our problem. We have to deal with it. So whose problem is banditry in the Northeast? Whose problem is it? Every problem must be owned. Whose problem is power generation, poor and scanty power generation in Nigeria? Whose problem is it? Whose problem is election lapses, electoral lapses in Nigeria? Whose problem is it? Whose problem is bad roads in Nigeria? Every problem must be owned. And as a leader, you must start learning to take ownership of problems. You must start learning to take ownership of problems. So every problem must be clearly defined, every problem must be properly identified, and every problem must be owned. Every problem must be owned. Wherever it is that you find yourself as a leader, make sure there are no orphan problems. Make sure there are no orphan problems. Always ask, who is responsible for this? Who is responsible for this? And most often, if you're a proper leader, a proper servant leader, it will either be me. The answer to that question will either be me, I, or us. It will very rarely be them, him, her, or they. If you're a proper leader, when you ask whose problem is this, there's only three possible answers you have. Either me, I, or us. Is our problem. It's our problem. It is my problem. It is our problem. It is for us. But you're not going to point and say it is his problem, especially when you're responsible for providing leadership in that context. So now that we have seen identifying problems, let's look at solving problems. Solving problems. Now, there are three default responses to identified problems. When people identify, they have identified that, okay, this is a problem. We have passed that stage now. We are not in doubt. We have clearly identified that this is a problem. When people identify problems, there are three default responses to those problems. Three default responses. When you see a problem, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? You can type that in the chat. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see a problem? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Let your responses come in the chat. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see a problem? Because something must come to your mind. Something must come to your mind when you see a problem. When I see problem, something must come to my mind. I can't see a problem and my mind is neutral. No, something must come to my mind. So what's the first action you are prompted to take? What's the first thing that crosses your mind when you see a problem? There are 3 broad default responses to problem. And as I go through this, I want you to place yourself and find your level, as they say, and categorize yourself. And it is my hope that at the end of this session, you will be in a different category if you are in the wrong category at this point. So 3 broad responses to identify problems. The first default response, some people, once they see a problem, their default response is to ignore it. They just look the other way and say, hey, this thing not spoil, I don't see how more. They just turn as if they didn't see the thing. Sometimes, even if they see the thing that it has broken, they arrange it so it looks as if the thing has not yet broken. Say, hey, I don't see him, I don't see him. The first default response, and this is the default response of many people, is to ignore the problem. We have plenty problems at different levels, whether in our homes, in our families, in our communities, in our offices, because we have too many people ignoring the problems. Good News is writing on the screen. A participant with the name Good News is scribbling on the screen. So plenty problems go ignored. Plenty problems go ignored because people just see it and their default response is just to look away and walk. How many, everybody, if you have done that before, just raise your hand. I believe we have all done that at one point or the other, that we saw a problem and we just quietly ignored it and just walked away. Quietly. Quietly. Everybody has done that. When we were small, I remember when we were small, when we were much younger as children, we would see water, an empty bottle in the fridge, in our fridge, in the kitchen. This is supposed to be a bottle of water, but they are finished drinking the water and somebody dropped the empty bottle inside there. I will open the fridge, I will see the empty bottle of water. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to say, who did this now? This is not proper. Then I'm supposed to go and fill the bottle with water and put it back. But I see it and I drop it back inside and I close the fridge. I ignore the problem. So the first default response that many people have to problems is to ignore it. The second default response to problem is to report it. And many people fall under this category. Hey, once you just see the problem, say, there's a problem. There's a problem. Oh, see this thing, see this thing. They're always reporting problems. Oh, I have some people walking around. We have some people walking around us that are constantly reporting problems. Wow. Sir, this thing, hey, this thing is not working. Sir, this thing has stopped working. Sir, the generator. Sir, this thing. Sir, the machine has stopped working. Sir, I think we are out of data. Sir, I think they are always reporting problems. That is their default. Once they see a problem, the default thing they do is to report it. Even if you are not in the office, they carry their phone and call you. You are in a meeting, you told them, I'm going for a very serious meeting. I'm going to go and meet with the governor. We are going to discuss some very serious things from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Then they see that generator, where I finish the generator at 12:30. Then they carry their phone and they start calling your number. You see 13 missed calls when you come out from the meeting. Then when you call the person, I say, sir, where I finished, so when I was doing that thing that you said I should do, what is that? What am I dealing with here? Some people's default response to problem is that they report it. Am I saying you should never report a problem? No, that's not what I'm saying. But let me give you 2 good pieces of advice. Never report a problem you haven't attempted solving. That's number 1. As a leader, never report a problem you haven't attempted solving as a leader. No, don't do that. Attempt solving it. If you can't deal with it, you can escalate, you can report it. But never report a problem that you haven't even sat down to think about a solution for it. The second thing is never report a problem without proposing a plan to address it. When you report a problem, always make sure that you are attaching a plan, you are proposing a plan to solve the problem. Don't just report the problem and hang up. Don't just report the problem and say, I've reported it. Say, sir, the machine has stopped working. This thing happened 2 weeks ago, and it is happening again today. I suggest that we do ABC in order to ensure that once we solve it this time, it doesn't reoccur. So you would know that this is somebody who is a leader. This is somebody who has thought about the problem he's reporting. Because leaders, even when you define leaders reporting problems, they are reporting problems after they have thought about them, not prior to thinking about them. Leaders always report problems only after they have thought about it and thought about a solution, if they have to report it. And when I'm saying leaders, I want to believe you see yourself as a leader. If you are not a leader, you wouldn't have been in this school. So the mere fact that you received an admission letter from Lead Thoughts is a clear indication that they have identified you as a leader with potentials and they have brought you here. Leaders never report problems that they haven't thought about. And when they report those problems, if they have to, they report those problems along with recommendations for solution. Now, the third default response to problems is solve it. This is the part I like. So, and this is the leader's mindset. This is the default mindset. Once a leader sees a problem, the first thing that comes to his mind is, how can we solve this problem? That is the first thing he's thinking about. He has no plans of ignoring it. He has no plans of reporting it. The first thing, his mind is just wired like that. He sees a problem and he says, how can we solve this problem? That is all he's thinking about. He can't go to sleep. He's saying, how can we solve this problem? How can we solve this problem? That's his default mindset. That's her default mindset. She's not ignoring the problem. She's not running away from the problem. She's not going to pick up her phone and just report the problem. She's not going to freak out by the problem. The default mindset of a leader, as soon as she sees a problem, she says, how can we solve it? How can we? She starts thinking. She gathers her people around her. She says, how can we solve this problem? How can we solve this problem? When people in your community are seeing that this our transformer is always giving us issues. Now, for these NEPA people, they won't come and say, a leader is saying, how can we deal with this problem? We can't continue like this. So the next street has light. We don't have light here. How can we solve it? She calls for a meeting in the community. She says, come around. Let's discuss this. We can't. Why should we sit? How long will we sit and wait for other people to solve our problems for us? So she starts thinking. The default mindset of a leader, as soon as they identify a problem, is how can it be solved? How can we solve it? How can I solve it? Look, a piece, right, of the solution to the problems that we see around, there's a piece of the solution that lies in your hands. There's a piece of the solution. All the problems you see in Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, all the problems you see in Nigeria, there is a piece of the solution that is in your hands. Is in your hands. Abdul is in your hands. Ibrahim is in your hands. Fatima is in your hands. Good news is in your hands. There is a piece of the solution that is in your hands. For every problem you pick in Nigeria, there is a piece of the solution that is in your hands. It might be a very tiny piece, but it's in your hands. Look at this puzzle here. Everybody has a piece. No matter how tiny it is, the problem will not be solved except you contribute your own part. Have you ever asked yourself, what part of the solution to Nigeria's problems am I responsible for? This is how you should start thinking as a leader, because you're not just a leader in your community, you're a national leader. It is because we believe that out of this place will come people who can lead Nigeria in the future. That is why we have put this program together. So you should ask yourself, what part of, have you ever sat down to ask yourself, what part of Nigeria's problems, what fraction of the solution am I responsible for? What fraction of the solution to Nigeria's problems am I responsible for? Very few Nigerians have ever, maybe only 5% of Nigerians have ever asked themselves that question. What fraction of the solution to Nigeria's problem am I, Femi Reese, responsible for? So now, let's talk about solving problems using the what, why, and how approach. Solving problems using the what, why, and how approach. The first thing is to ask what. So you have identified the problem, right? And you have decided, I'm not ignoring this problem, and I'm not going to run away and go and report it. Let me first look at it and see what it is. So asking, what's the problem? What exactly is the problem? When you ask what is the problem, and you must continue, you asked this question at the time of identifying the problem. Why again are you still asking it at the time of solving the problem? You must continue asking what question, because sometimes you might be dealing with an evolving problem. There are problems that are evolving. Oh, COVID was one very big evolving problem. So the what kept changing. So what you identify, it might have evolved to something else at the time you are trying to solve it. So keep asking what exactly is the problem. Asking what reveals the problem. The next is why. You must ask yourself, why does this problem exist? What is the cause? This is like performing a root cause analysis. Why do we have this problem? Why? Keep asking the why, digging why. Why do we have this problem? Why do we have fuel scarcity problem? Because they supplied bad fuel and to the filling stations, and the thing is spoiling people's cars. Why did they supply bad fuel to the filling station? Because from the refinery, when they did it in and they brought it and they landed it there. Why did they land bad fuel in our place successfully without it? Because when they landed it in, we didn't check. Why didn't we check? You see, the thing is, when you keep asking those whys, you get to the root cause. Then finally, you get to see that the root cause of this problem is that we don't have a system in place to ensure compliance to global standards and global best practices. So you now say, okay, let us now develop a system for compliance to global best practices. So keep asking, why do we have this problem? Why don't we have light? Why are our roads like this? Why is this? Why is that? When you keep asking why, you are digging to the cause, because that is how to solve problems. You don't solve problems by chopping off the branches. You solve problems by pulling out the roots. You don't solve problems by cutting off the branches. You solve problems by pulling out the roots. You keep asking why is it? Why you ask the why and you question the why of the why. And you keep questioning the why of the why until you get to the root cause of the problem. And then the next thing is how. How? So while asking what reveals the problem, asking why reveals the cause, and then asking how reveals the solution. So you say, how can I solve this problem? How can we solve this problem? How? If you work with a team, get your team together. Let's brainstorm. How can we solve this problem? If it's just a problem that is facing you alone, how can I solve this problem? How can I solve this problem? You keep asking that. How can I solve this problem? So some closing thoughts before I now get into the concluding part, right? The first thing I want to say as I put my thoughts together is that the problem is not solved when a solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. The problem is not solved when the solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. There was a time, some time back, that every 4 days, one of my tires start going flat. So I drive on my way out to work. I drive and I stop by the vulcanizer's place and they pump the tire and I drive, I go to work. Then the following week again, after like 4 or 5 days, my tire starts going down again. On my way to work, I stop at the vulcanizer's place. I kept doing that. Then later I just told myself, the problem is not solved when a solution is found. The problem is solved when the cause is removed. So what is the cause of this, my flat tire? Why is my tire going flat every 7 days? So I now went to the vulcanizer's place and he said, okay, now they no put Gary for the thing where. So I said, okay, come on the tire, help me put Gary. Now to remove the tire and put the Gary, it cost me 200 naira. The time I was branching every 4 days to put air,
I was paying 15 naira every morning to do that, every day time I did that. I now calculated and saw that the money I had spent on doing damage control, on doing cosmetic solution approach to the problem was far more than the 200 naira that I would have used to deal with it and remove the cost. So as a leader, know that the problem is not solved when the solution is found. The problem is solved when the cost is removed. The second thing is that you must develop reoccurrence reduction frameworks. You must build systems that will reduce the chances of reoccurrence possibly to zero. So when you have solved the problem, it's not enough. See, and this is where many people get it wrong. When they solve the problem, they are happy and they are rejoicing and they go away rejoicing. That thank God we have solved the problem. No, 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 no. As a leader, you know your job is not done. So you come back and you have solved the problem. Everybody is fine, but the leader is not yet fine. The leader is still thinking. He's now saying, how can we develop a framework? How can we put a system in place to make sure that this problem never happens again in this place? What systems can we put in place? She's asking what frameworks can we develop to make sure that this thing never reoccurs in this office? So the leader knows that even when the problem is solved and everybody has relaxed, it's not time to relax. It's time to now develop reoccurrence reduction frameworks. And then the third thing is you don't rely on committees. Am I saying don't form committees? No, I didn't say that. I say you don't rely on committees as your primary channels for solving problems. I am yet to find, I've seen some committees that were effective, but largely, the larger percentage of committees I have seen, they generate more minutes than solutions. They spend more time generating minutes than they do generating solutions. I read somewhere they said a committee, a group of people who waste hours and take minutes. I read it and I laughed. They say a committee, a group of people who waste hours and take minutes. So after wasting hours, they now share the minutes. They now share the minutes of the meeting. After wasting hours, they share the minutes. So no, you don't rely on committees, right? Rather than constitute a committee, commission a team. There is a big difference. Rather than, and you see, this is the team in Nigeria again. Oh, committee on this, committee on that, committee. There will be a committee to look into the fuel problem. Then there will be a committee to monitor the committee that is looking into the fuel problem. Then a monitoring committee to monitor the monitoring committee that are monitoring the committee that is looking into the fuel problem. Committees. The dictionary calls committee. The dictionary defines committee as a group of people consider a matter. Leaders are not thinking about considering a matter. Leaders are thinking about solving the matter, not considering it. The dictionary says a committee and a group of people brought together to consider a matter. So rather than constitute a committee, commission a team. Commission a team where each person is 100% responsible for a clear and definite part of the solution. Commission a team. Commission a team where everybody, each person is 100% responsible for an apportioned part of the solution. And now, as I draw these things to a close, how does this tie with Nigeria's leadership problem? I believe one of Nigeria's greatest problems, and not just Nigeria, Africa, one of our greatest problems is leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And when I'm talking about Nigeria's leadership problem, I'm not talking about APC or PDP. I'm not talking about Buhari and Osibaju or whoever your governor is or the Speaker of the House. When I'm talking about Nigeria's leadership problem, I'm talking about a matter that is far more serious than these petty arguments that people have over social media. And when we talk about Nigeria's leadership problem, right, you are either a part of the leadership problem or you're a part of the solution. Yes, you, Abdul, you are either a part of Nigeria's leadership problem or you're a part of the solution. Good news, you're either a part of Nigeria's leadership problem or you're a part of the solution. Ibrahim, you're either a part of Nigeria's leadership problem or you're a part of the solution. There is no middle ground. To not actively be part of the solution is to passively be part of the problem. If you're not actively part of the leadership solution, that means you are part of the problem passively. Right? Do you understand that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when we talk about Nigeria's leadership problem, we'll just start looking at the people who are in office. We start taking of the people in office. We start taking of the people in public office. If you are not a part of the solution, you are already by default a part of the problem. And the leadership problem in government, these places that we're talking about, these government houses and Senate buildings, the leadership problem in those places is a matured version of the leadership problem in your house, or in your class, or in your office. You see, the leadership problem that we might have in any government house, right? It is simply a matured version of the leadership problem that you have in your house, or the leadership problem that you have in your office that you are ignoring while you are busy complaining about the national leadership problem. That is a matured version of the one that you have not solved in your office. The leadership problems you have in government offices is a matured version, in government houses, is a matured version of the one you have not solved in your classroom. So now, as we tie this thing and bring it home, solving personal leadership problem. How can we address Nigeria's leadership problem by solving the leadership problem at a personal level? How can you address Nigeria's leadership problem? Not by arguing on Facebook about 2023, but how can you address the leadership problem in Nigeria by solving your own personal leadership problem? Very quickly. One, you can't effectively lead others if you haven't led yourself. You can't effectively lead others if you haven't led yourself. You can't effectively, so hold yourself to the strictest standards possible. You see, I discovered that many of us, we are holding our leaders in government and in public offices, we are holding them to strict standards that we have not held ourselves to. We are holding them to standards that we have failed on. And in the next 10 years, 15 years, for crying out loud, you will find yourself in that place. Who will be the ones there? In the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, who will be the ones there? Do you think we will suddenly automatically just show up like Superman and say, yes, let me deliver on the job? No, if we are not holding ourselves to the standards we are demanding of them right now at our personal level, then we will go there and commit greater blunders than them. So you can't effectively lead others if you haven't led yourself. Hold yourself to the strictest possible standards of integrity, the strictest possible standards of discipline, the strictest possible standards of honesty, of hard work, of uprightness. Hold yourself to the strictest possible standards. You can't effectively lead others if you haven't led yourself. Question: if the president of the United States ran the country the way you run your life, will the country still be where it is today? If Joe Biden ran the United States of America the way you that are looking at my PowerPoint, if Joe Biden ran the United States of America the way you are running your life, will the country still be where it is today? If he gets out of bed the same time you get out of bed, if he spends the money of America the same way you are spending your money, if he spends his productive time on social media the same way you are spending it, or if he spends his time gisting with his friends the same way you spend it, will America still be where it is today? Will the country, or it will have disappeared from the map? I put it to you, if you were running it the way many of us are running our lives, the country will have disappeared from the map. If you are spending their money the way we are spending our money, spending their time the way we are spending our time, getting up from bed the same time you are getting up from bed, going to bed the same, if you were running America the way you are running your life, the country will have disappeared from the map. Hold yourself to high leadership standards. Hold yourself to high leadership standards. Can't lead others if you have not led yourself. Second thing is equip yourself to solve complex problems. Equip yourself to solve complex problems. Look, there is a proven thought process that leaders have. Leaders have a proven thought process, and it is learnable. Every leadership skill is learnable. You can equip yourself. You can learn the process of solving complicated problems. The more you learn it and work at it, the better you get. We need leaders who have equipped themselves to solve complex problems. And since we are hoping that some of the leaders from this room will end up in public offices, that is why we're saying, start now, equip yourself, invest in yourself. Part of the equipping is coming to trainings like this. Equip yourself to solve complicated problems, right? Then take responsibility for solving the little problems around you, even if they weren't caused by you. See, problem solving is a habit that is built over time. It's not, you don't suddenly wake up and you are suddenly a problem solver. It's a habit that is built with the little things. I teach my son that when he's passing and I see that he's passing the house and he passes a piece of paper and he walks over it, I call him back. I say, come, what's that on the floor? He say, a piece of paper, Daddy. I say, what did he just do? You walk past it. He already knows where I'm aiming to. So he just goes back and he picks it. Sometimes when I first started trying to teach him that lesson, he'll tell me, but it's not me that dropped it. And he'll call his brother's name. He says, it's him that dropped it. It's not me that dropped it. It's not. I said, it doesn't matter who caused the problem. Once you identify it, solve it. I tell him, I say, so pick it up and put it where it belongs. If your brother is passing it, I'll tell him, pick it up and put it where it belongs. So take responsibility for solving the little problems around you, even if they weren't caused by you. Take responsibility for solving, oh dear. You will see the clock. The time of the clock is wrong. The time of the clock is wrong. You will pass and you will leave it like that. You just adjust it in your mind that, okay, this clock is 10 minutes late. Oh, you just adjust it. So anytime you look at the clock, you'll be doing the maths inside your head. You'll be doing the maths in your head. You'll be minusing 10. You'll be adding 10 to the time. Anytime you look at it, what will it cost you to solve the problem? Little problems around you. You see, the thing is that you don't see the connection between that thing you are doing and the problem in the government house. Many times when I see things like this, I see somebody do something on the street. I say, hey, I see somebody throw leather out of his car on the road. I say, this person does not see the connection between what he just did and the fuel crisis in Nigeria. He doesn't know the connection. He doesn't know the connection. You don't know that there's a connection between that your clock that you didn't set, and the power problem that NEPA has in Nigeria. The NEPA problem. You don't know that there's a connection because the man who's supposed to solve that problem, him too, there was a time when he was small, when he was much younger, that he was adding time inside his head and he refused to set the clock. So solve little problems, build the habits, build it as a habit of solving problems around you, even if they weren't caused by you. Right? And finally, equip people around you to solve problems even better than you. We saw that in the last session, in the 21 Laws of Leadership. Equip people around you to solve problems even better than you. When you keep doing that, you will have an effective team to work with when the time comes. I was reading about JFK, John Kennedy, right? On the day of his inauguration, he had already assembled his cabinet. The man already had a team that he already knew, these are the people I'm working with, because he already knew their capacity. If you only equip yourself, when you finally become governor, you will not have people who have that same capacity to run the government with you. So it's only you that have the capacity. Then you now bring the same people again who will come inside and they'll say, he's a good leader, but the people around him, they ruined everything. And nobody will say it's the people around him because their leader is expected to get things done. So now that's my time is, I just have 2 minutes left and I'll use that to drop an assignment for you. This is your assignment for my class. You have just been appointed the Minister of Power in Nigeria. With over 70% of the country receiving less than 10 hours of power supply per day, your first point of call is to see to it that the average Nigerian never has to put on a generator set by the end of your 4-year tenure. Draw up a clear plan to provide effective leadership and solve this power problem for good. Do we get it? This is your assignment for this class. You have just been appointed the Minister of Power. Congratulations. Congratulations. You can tap yourself on your back and say, congratulations, Minister of Power. Now, your first point of call is to make sure that you provide leadership and develop a plan, follow the process of solving problems, identifying and solving problems, and develop a clear plan to ensure that this power problem is taken care of for good. I want to believe that one day somebody in this class will find himself or herself in one of these offices, and you will have to solve one of the problems that have been plaguing Nigeria for decades. And it will be on record that you came on the scene and you solved the problem that has plagued Nigeria for over 60 years. You solved it in 4 years. And may it be so. May it be so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi. This was a great session, I believe so. It's time for us to take our questions. Do we have any question for Mr. Femi? Please, if you do have any question, you can raise your hands up, and I'll take some few questions for him before we close for the day. So questions are welcome.
Questions, there are questions, numerous questions on the chat book that people left even for the first session. So probably we can just take 3, 2 for this second session and 3 for the first session. So we can tidy up.
Okay, we've taken note of some of the questions that dropped for the last session. So let's have questions, please, for this session.
Okay, that's fine. So we can start with this session.
Then we can, yes, then we can get back to those few ones that we've taken note of.
Okay, that's good.
So questions, I can see just one hand. Okay, and Damut Victor, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Damut Victor, unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
All right. My question is, I'm currently on campus and I've experienced a lot of issues when it comes to solving problems. When Mr. Femi was discussing about prompt action to solving problems, I remembered situations I had with some people on campus. And the issue was that you can't just go ahead and solve problem because you're in school. You need to pass through the dean, you need to pass through SUG, you need to pass through this and that. So a lot of protocols before you solve that problem. And these are emergencies you need to solve. So what are alternatives to solving this kind of emergency calls, this kind of emergency problems you have, especially on campus where some of us are actually located? What are those other alternatives we can have to getting those problems solved immediately? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Femi, would you want me to take all the questions so that you attend to them at once?
Okay, yes, I think that would be fine.
Okay. So let's go to Harun Atata. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. Just go ahead.
Okay. My question regarding the assignments. When did you submit it, and which way do we follow in order to submit it?
Sorry, can you come again?
That is all. My question is regarding the assignment given by the facilitator. How can we submit the assignment, and when did we going to submit it?
Okay, we are going to give you the details. We're going to be giving you the details concerning the assignments.
Okay, okay.
Okay, lastly, let's listen to Olga Cecilia. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
Sorry, unmute yourself, please.
I have.
Okay, so go ahead.
In a situation whereby you are a leader, although, okay, let's say you're just a figure leading at a spot, and you identify a problem you suggested, and everyone counter you, like they make you look like you don't know what you're saying. And at the end, the whole thing come back. You feel like at that situation, you feel like, okay, let me leave everybody to make their suggestion and just solve their problem. Let me just be mute. But at the end, the things still come back to you like what you suggested. In that situation, since you raise an opinion, it keeps being countered. What do you do as a leader? It's not as if the people you are leading it's not as if they are above you. You people are in the same category, like the same class. In some aspects, when they run into trouble, they run back to you to help them fix it. But when a main deal came for you to suggest as someone who is leading them, they will counter you. They will rather use abusive words. So what do you do? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Femi, we have one question in the chat box that says, in a nation like Nigeria, where the leaders are controlled by some individual cabals, how can a true leader carry out his true activities under the red eyes of the so-called cabals, who are willing to bend you to do only what they ask you to do, or else they remove you? Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Femi.
Okay, thank you very much. The first question talked about like when you're in a system, and he cited the specific case of being in school and you have to solve problems, but there's a lot of bureaucracy in solving the problem. You have to skip a lot of hurdles. Now, what do you do, especially when the problem needs to be solved urgently? Of course, that's a particular scenario. So, but I'll just give a general approach to such issues. The first is evaluate your options. I always want to sit down and say, okay, what options, I sit down, I think, that's what leaders do. I say, what are all the possible legitimate options available to me? There are options that you will not know about until you think deep about it. How can I fast track this thing? Are there possibilities of fast tracking this thing? And if you evaluate your options, you don't find any possibility of fast tracking the thing, check what resources are available to me to attend to the problem. Is it something I can solve on my own, or can I gather a group of people to solve the problem? If it is a problem that has to go through formal processes, if after you have evaluated everything, you see that it has to go through this process, then what you must do is to go through the process, right? And ensure that you are doing it intensively enough so that you can hasten the process. Now, if you say, I just want to solve this problem, it's an emergency, you won't be thinking like a leader, because you will solve the emergency problem, but the real problem is the system. There is a bureaucratic system. But if you now say, okay, now let us deal with this monster once and for all, and you say, I will engage this framework that the school has put in place for solving problems. But as I'm engaging it, I am making inputs at every point of the process. And I'm trying to tell them and make them understand that this thing can be more effective. Every table I go to, I am making my voice heard as I'm pursuing the solution. I'm making my voice heard, because the real problem is not the emergency problem on ground, is that there is a bureaucratic system in place that is not so efficient and that could be better. And if you as a leader have identified that this problem is not very efficient and it could be better, then the only way you can correct the problem is by engaging it. So engage the problem. They say, report to the Dean of Student Affairs, do it. But as you are doing it, you are building relationships and bridges that you can use to make your voice heard and speak into the problem and tell the dean, sir,
thank you for solving that problem, even though it took so long, but I'm so very grateful. I observed certain things throughout the process, and you now write out all your observations, well articulated. I observed certain things, you know, present it to everybody that was involved, every office that was involved in the solution of that problem. That way you'll be thinking more broadly like a leader than just thinking about solving the immediate problem at hand. Remember we said identifying what exactly is the problem. So that's for the first question. The second question, I think, was, okay, if you present solutions to people and they just, you know, look down on you with disdain or just tell you off and say, no, keep your solution to yourself, we're not interested, you know, what do? As a leader, you keep at it. Because if you are already having problems convincing your classmates to buy into your solution and you want to say, okay, let them do what they like, let them do what they have told them. Oh, we don't need those type of leaders in Nigeria. We need leaders who, once they have a solution that they believe in. I was reading, I have a lot of books here on American presidents. I read how these people, they do back and forth with the Senate. They are doing back and forth. They are trying to convince them, especially when maybe this is a Republican president and the House is full of Democrats. Hey, he knows he has to convince at least 40% of Democrats who are already on the other side of his camp. He has to convince them on this bill. He has to convince them. So the vice president is going to the House. The president is going to the House to present. They are going back and forth. Before John Kennedy could convince the Senate to invest in the Apollo moon landing program, they invested billions of dollars in putting a man on the moon. America said there is no way a president can convince us that this is a wise way to spend taxpayers' money. But he kept at it. They threw the idea away. He kept at it. Eventually, did America put a man on the moon? Yes, they did. Because one leader who had a team of people around him decided that we will, even if it looks like a ridiculous idea and it doesn't buy into, the public doesn't buy into it, we are going to stay at it until we help them see what we see. So while they are pushing it at them, you're also bringing them into the thought process. You're telling them, okay, since you people don't believe in this idea, let us reason together, let us think. What do you think would work? So they are bringing their perspective. Eventually, you see that when you get people to think long enough and share their thoughts long enough, you see that part of what they are saying is part of what you are saying. It's not that they are saying it in a different way and they are seeing it in a different way. You know, but once you say, I've told them, they've dropped it and thought, let them do what they want. We need die-hard leaders. Die-hard leaders. So it's okay, let us reason it. They bring their perspectives, and as you people evaluate it, eventually you will either find a middle ground or you will get them on your side. When you start winning people to your side and your solution is working, right? You are being a leader. So that's it. And I think that was only 2 questions, right? Please, Vash, am I right on that?
Chat group? The chat room.
Okay, yeah, okay. So the one that came from the chat that said,
yeah, in the
Nigerian situation where you have cabals who are, you know, running things, and then you come with all your enthusiasm and say, let's go and change the place. Then you reach there and you have them looking at you with red eyes as you put it. And they're saying, bros, sign that paper there. Bros, do that one. Oh yeah, bros. Kabashi employment. Bros, oh yeah, do this one. Oh yeah, bros. And they're telling you what to do. In that case, you have to make a decision. Either you change the system or you don't comply. But compliance is not an option. For a leader, bending is not an option, no matter what. So you either stay there and say, no, this is how it must be done, right? Or they remove you, like you said that is the worst they can do. And sometimes when they remove you, does it mean that you still don't have capacity to change things from where you are? When they remove you, the next thing you should start asking yourself is, okay, so now I have gotten a first-hand view of an insider view of this thing. I have information that others don't have. How can I sit down and craft a strategy that will help solve things in this place? So I think that is a way to go about it, but complying, yielding, compromising is not an option for the leaders we are looking for in the new Nigeria. It's not an option. We are looking for Nigerians who are willing to die than compromise. And I believe they are in this class. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Femi. We really appreciate your effort and knowledge passed. We are grateful. Mr. Sheon, I don't know if you have anything to say before I read out the other questions on the last session.
Okay, no, please go ahead.
Session, rather.
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, there is a question that says, what is the major disadvantage not having all qualities? That's, I think the person is talking about all the laws. Can a leader apply this at all time? Then another one says, are these laws that, okay, the first one was from Damut Victor. Then another one from Norbert Ngafo said, are these laws always applicable in every situation, given that people differ and situations differ? Then Maina Gambo has this to ask, can this law of leadership roles played in Nigerian politics? Okay, can these laws of leadership roles be played in Nigerian politics? I saw an example made with that of Ukraine's president. Then the last one here says, but that's by Samuel Adeshola. It's very obvious that leadership today has been geared towards competition. How can this be managed in a diverse environment with the leaders and the led? Thank you very much. These are the questions, the few we could pick.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Mr. Nicholas is still on. Mr. Nicholas could respond to some of the questions. I could also support him to answer some questions.
Okay, thank you. I want Mr. Yahya, my boss, to respond to some of the questions first. Before I do. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Mr. Yahya, you can unmute now. I didn't know you're online.
Okay, maybe let me just, in all of this,
Hello?
I will advise, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, with you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Now I want to respond to maybe the last question, which I think the person that asked the question spoke about how he could be able to lead in an environment that is so competitive, where both the leaders and perhaps the followers are trying to compete with one another. And I keep talking to leaders that the healthiest competition that a leader should have is how he could be better than his yesterday. Know that you're not in a competition with any other person, but to outdo your yesterday and to be better than the way you were yesterday. The only healthy competition I know is being in a ring, maybe in a boxing champion or a wrestling champion, where you're supposed to defeat your opponent. But in this journey of leadership, the best thing you could do is to try to be yourself. You have your goals and your values, and you work towards achieving those goals and values, rather than becoming so engulfed in a competition and trying to beat the other person. I think it's not healthy for any leader that is has made up his mind to be a transformative leader. We lack a lot of transformative leaders in Nigeria. That's why we are where we are today. Thank you. And Vash, the first question, I didn't get it clearly. Hello? 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 Can somebody hear
Hello?
me?
Can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you, Vash.
Okay, I
yes.
think the first question was about, he said, what is the major disadvantage not having all the qualities.
Oh,
Can a leader apply all this at all times?
Okay. Thank you so very much. I don't know the person that asked the question. The 21 irrefutable laws.
Victor.
Okay, okay. The laws are actually laws that could stand by themselves. You could use them individually, and you could also work towards ensuring that you have all the laws. I want to believe that it's a work in progress. Just as one of the laws could say, leadership develops daily, not in a day. It's not something that you could work on yourself in one day and then be able to practice all the laws effectively. But you could start gradually, even as you continue trying to see how you could better yourself using those laws. So in case you don't have all of them, I want to believe you have some of those qualities. It's just that they are highlighted in such a way that you understand them better. But don't be discouraged that you don't have all the laws. You could practice them one by one and continue making bite-sized decisions, as I have said, as I spoke about the law of process, so that daily you keep improving. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Nicholas, you were trying to attend to some of the questions. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that, anyway, I'm not a politician. It's not a way of campaigning for a candidate, but the law of empowerment, if you look at it, I think Tinubu is one good person that I have seen that have mastered that law so very well around the Northeast. Sorry, around the Southwest, rather, sorry, around the Southwest, where he has mentored so many leaders. You agree with me that the vice president used to, Professor Sibanjo used to be his commissioner. Used to be one of the commissioners. Ariboshola used to be one of the commissioners. Just name them around the Southwest. He has mastered that a lot. So there are people who have those qualities when you talk about in terms of politics. Responding to the question, I think Mena asked. Yes, in political atmosphere in Nigeria, well, as we're reading out the laws, as we are reviewing the book, you begin to look around the politicians who has fit in these, who hasn't. So yes, I understand. So those are the questions that were going through your mind, and that was why you asked this question. But we are training ourselves to be better off when we get to that position. And I want to believe that we're training leaders that want to take over and that will be mentoring others as well. So we have some other leaders around the country that have one or two of these qualities, not like Mr. Aya have just make mention. It's an intentional thing. It's a process that you need to develop yourself. So they might not have all in them, but at least you will begin to see one or two politicians that have some of these qualities and the rest. So thank you.